to your favorite four-time award-nominated Packers podcast.
Damn right.
Zach is not here, but I am. Trevor Land, obviously, and then Luke Reimer to my right or left, depending on where you're watching from. We don't know. But we're coming off of a Packers 28-21 win at Lambeau Field over the Chicago Bears. Packers are now first in the NFC North. They've ran through the North this year, if I'm not mistaken, 4-0 in the division.
4-0. 3 division wins in a row.
Huge time. Packers pretty much guaranteed for the playoffs. Division race still up in the air, but we can just jump right into it. And first thing I'll ask you, Luke, is I'm assuming you were at the game, right?
Yep.
So I would assume, obviously, Packers Bears games always hold a little more oomph, for lack of a better
hmm
term. Like there's always something in the air. With this one being for the NFC North and really being the first battle that kind of matters since 2011 NFC Championship game, if I'm being honest. Like, did it feel like there was a little bit extra in the air, or did it feel kind of normal?
To be honest, and I wrote about this for an article I did for the paper, but you're right that this is really kind of the first game that kind of feels like it has any significance since I guess 2018 the Bears went on kind of a run, here and there. But honestly, in terms of where both teams are expected to be good, both teams are expected to win, both teams have good teams, both teams have good coaches, both teams have good offenses, both teams have good defenses. Yeah, I would say there's a little umph to it. It still felt like when you walked in that, and I think this kind of goes along with what a lot of people, I would guess a lot of people on the outside of, this Packers Bears rivalry would think, is that like I mean, it's still the Bears. Like who, like nobody even really like. It's still like we don't really care about the Bears. It felt like, everyone coming in. There's a Packers fans had a lot of swagger, a lot of confidence coming in. But on the other side, it's nice to see that Bears fans finally kind of felt like they had some confidence and swag, in terms of this kind of being that rivalry that we wanted. So yeah, I would say it kind of lived up to it. I think the play of the game kind of lived up to it too, right? It got to be cold, and Kyle Monunga was dropping his head, and paint was flying off helmets, and like this felt like it felt like an NFC North division rivalry between right, two teams that have been going at it for 211 straight, 211 times,
Yeah.
whatever that number is. Um, so I think in terms of, I think the fan perception is still right. Packers are big brother, probably always going to be big brother. But in terms of players, like I think I think players, coaches, I would think Matt LaFleur is pretty happy that he won that game.
Yeah, and I think Bears fans won't like it because of the result of the game, but I think NFL fans everywhere and Packer fans love the quick drive-by handshake
Oh
between the
yeah,
two coaches. They clearly do not like each other, and I think honestly most of the animosity is from LaFleur saying like "f you" to Ben Johnson, and Johnson being like, "All right, like he's a coach that's not going to back down, so I'll give that
right.
to him."
Well, I
So
think
that's a good thing to see.
and Bears fans are so fucking stupid that they're talking about this, this press conference, and or they're talking about this handshake, and like, oh, Matt LaFleur and Packer fans are so petty that he did this, and I'm pissed off that he didn't like give Ben Johnson a shake because he's pissed off at what Ben Johnson said. Really, you're both just pissed off about nothing.
Yeah, yeah. But the one thing that you brought up that was interesting that I wanted to touch on, obviously, everybody's going to talk about the play of the game, which is the Caleb Love interception. Under
Yeah,
whether
yep.
you want to say underthrowing Cole Kmet, missing DJ Moore, which you look at the all 22 angle, it really wasn't a missing DJ Moore. It was just a bad angle. All the questions for that, for me, and for you being someone at the game, I'd like to hear your opinion on this. For me, the play of the game wasn't actually the interception; it was the play before. The Bears, by the second half, like Zach said, going into the game, just running it down the Packers' throats in that second half, not worried about the score. And they were doing that. Second and four, get 3 yards, and then third and one, Kingsley Enagbari puts his head in,
hmm
stops them for zero, turns third and one to 4-1. For me, watching on TV, it felt like, whoa, momentum shift here. Do you think that's fair, or do you think it was just more of the whole drive, they just weren't going to let them score?
So I'm going to take it one step further. I agree that that was as big of a play as any, to kind of put the foot in the ground and say, hey, we're not letting him cross this line. In terms of what I'll give you an answer with my what I think might have been the play of the game is it was the Josh Jacobs on 3rd and 1, right, when he split three defenders and picked up the first down. I mean, he was dead to rights. Packers were going to kick a field goal. Who knows what Brandon McManus is in the cold? Bears come down, score a touchdown, win the game. So you know, Josh Jacobs getting into, I guess you got down to the 1 yard line and end up finishing off the drive, to put the pressure on the Bears to score a touchdown. Like that's really where it came from. But yes, to your point, and Igbari coming in and blowing up the play is incredible. But what kind of worries me, and I'm with you, and I'm with Zach, where I'm not in on Caleb Williams. He's kind of right. He's kind of. I'll just say he's a different guy than what we see as a quarterback in the NFL. But if Caleb Williams like ends up becoming something, right? It's probably you probably point to that interception that Keyshawn Nixon made. Like, hey, that's a young guy's play. Now this is something you learn from and you get better from. So like it's and this I hate to do this because it sounds like I'm a Bears fan. It sounds like I'm a Caleb Williams fan right now, but if in 25 years we're doing the Caleb Williams, Hall of Fame tribute video, like I would imagine that's probably the first play that's shown.
Yeah, and to your point, like his first half, I think he showed us exactly what he was. I don't think it was all on him, but he just wasn't good. I think he had like 11 passing yards in the first half. But to your point, he's done what he has done in this rivalry, and I don't think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's good at all. I think he's absolute garbage. But in this rivalry, whether you like it or not, he has stepped up from what he's been prior to that. I'm not saying that's still a great quarterback, but he's making some plays today or Sunday, escaping, making some throws that I honestly haven't seen him throw unless he's playing the Packers, and that's great for a rivalry. But it scares me if he starts putting it together. To your point.
Yeah, I'll say on the flip side of that, because I want to stop sucking off Caleb Williams because I hate him. Like coming into this game, I said that like this is kind of like an earn your pinstripe game from Jordan Love, and I think say what you want about Jordan Love. I thought he played fine in this game. He played well in this game. He manufactured touchdowns. He got the ball moving through the air. He's come to a point now where I think he's 4-1 against the Bears, 3-2 against the Bears
Yep.
somewhere. So he's on the trajectory of when we talk about the great history that the Packers have. It's they win Super Bowls, they win MVPs, and the next thing is they beat the Bears. So it's really nice to see Jordan Love falling in line with that as well. Just kind of wrapping up my thoughts on this game. Right, to really get the idea of what the game was, just go back and listen to our show before we said it. Like the Bears came out, ran the ball like they ran the ball well. Packers were able to hold back and I guess play that bend don't break defense. The Bears passing defense is not great. We saw Christian Watson hit a couple long ones. Like it just feels like what these two teams are right now. It's that as we've been saying it all year, Packers are very opportunistic on offense. They're always looking for that big play. When the big play hits, they're going to hit that big play. And the Bears they want to run you down. And Caleb Williams is not going to win, Caleb Williams is not going to win the game for you. But can the Bears can the run game, can the defense put him in a spot where he can't lose the game for you? Which we saw him lose the game for him in this one, right? So it just feels like two teams. It feels like the Packers are a couple steps ahead of the Bears, but it feels like two teams that are ascending when we talk about the overall thought of how are we looking at these teams in 2 years from now?
Absolutely. And real quick to what you said about Jordan Love being 4-1, uh, we'll have a question for you, trivia question for you, and for anybody who's listening. Can you name the last Bears quarterback to have 4 wins against the Packers?
Is it in my lifetime?
Nope.
Then probably not.
I believe, yep, Jim Harbaugh last took a
Okay.
snap for the Bears in 1993. But to your point, you talked about the Bears and the Packers and how kind of these are what these teams are, like it's what we've
Hmm.
seen as of late. And so my big takeaway from this game, and I'll form it in a question to you, the Packers did what the Packers do. They thrive on the big plays, right? They run the
Yep.
ball. Jordan Love's going to throw it on his back foot, right? He's probably going to
Yep.
underthrow it, but he's going to hit somebody. The Bears lean against that run defense or the running game. Caleb Williams kind of holds them down. So my question for you is 60 minutes of hard-nosed NFC North football. Did we actually learn anything from this
No.
game new?
No, like I said, we came in and everything happened as we talked about. I don't think, it's nice to see that. It's nice to see, I guess we learned that maybe Christian Watson can play more than 4 games at a time, play more than good games of football at a time. But no, right? I think in terms, like, I think both these teams are very talented. I think there's a good collection. I think it all comes down to the quarterback play. And in this game, one quarterback was better than the other. And it's, if you made me rank all 32 quarterbacks right now, I'd put Jordan Love ahead of Caleb Williams. So I don't know that we did learn much. So no, everything stands. Packers beat the Bears. What else is new? Like what have you done for me lately? Um, but I will throw one thing at you now. One question to you. So Green Bay has Denver this week. We'll get into that in a minute. But after that, you have Chicago. And I know the playoffs, like, we always love to do this, which I always hate that, like, if the playoffs ended today, this is what would happen. But if the playoffs did end today, it'd be Packers Bears, come that week, I guess week one in the playoffs. Is that something that would make you nervous, I guess, playing the Bears 3 times in a month and a half?
I don't remember who said it, but I think it might have been Nick Saban. When I was with Platteville, the thought was, and what we heard Coach say with the WEAC play, for those who don't know, in basketball, you play one
Hmm.
home, one away, and then maybe you play in the WEAC tournament, maybe you play in the NCAA tournament. The statement was it's really hard to beat a team 3 times.
Correct.
And Nick Saban, what he said to that is he said, and I'm going to be a little off here on exactly what he said, but basically, that only matters if you think it matters or if it means
Correct.
something to you. So to your point, like if I'm playing the Bears, I'm not scared, but I'm scared. And what I
Yeah,
mean
you're
by
not
that is like
comfortable.
exactly like when the Brewers beat the Cubs, I think everybody that was a Brewers fan knew that this team matches up with the Cubs better than the Padres.
Correct.
And I think everybody would have said, at least the vast majority, that if I have to pick one, and I'm not being pessimistic like I was, if I have to pick one straight up, I'm going to pick the Brewers. But that feeling of you can lose to the Cubs to the Bears is something you cannot shake.
Right.
And
Correct.
so I'm nervous for that feeling, but I don't think anybody should be nervous for the game.
Yeah,
And I think
same opinion.
on, on top of that, like the NFL has gotten a lot of shit about holding penalties and bad calls. And if you're one of those people that thinks the NFL is scripted, which to a point I can understand that. I don't think every game that would be stupid, but like, is the NFL really going to script the Chicago Bears to win a playoff game at
Correct.
Lambeau? Probably not. The story,
Correct.
right, is for the Packers. So, but it sounds like you're in the same boat.
Well, bias aside, it's probably bias talking, but I think bias aside, um, watching the Bears like lose in the most catastrophic ways in every single big game that they ever have against the Packers is one of the best storylines in NFL history. And I think that's something that is probably carried on by fans in 49 other states than Illinois, right? So I guess if we're scripting it, why not, play the hits, run the football, play the hits.
And to your point, okay, this game, Caleb Williams interception. The Bears beat the Packers reserves for a half on a
Hmm.
made field goal. The game before that, Packers won on a blocked field goal. If you're going for the last games that have mattered, 2011, to make the playoffs, ended on an interception. NFC Championship game, pick six, ended on an interception. Like that's just
Right.
the
I
way
mean,
these games work.
yeah, we can keep going. Like, right, Randall Cobb, 4th and 8 for the division.
Yep,
Aaron Rodgers goes down week one, and Bears fans like, finally we can beat the Packers. And Rodgers comes back and puts up 23 points in the fourth quarter, whatever it was. Like, it's a comedy of errors that I will never get sick of.
absolutely not. I won't. And my fiance, who's a Bears fan, was gone.
Good.
Loved that. Perfect. Loved that I was able to say what I wanted to and laugh what I wanted to, and I would not be judged. But
Right.
with that being said, like you said, the Packers play the Broncos in Mile High. If
Can we
my
hold on? Can we take a
yep,
time out for a second? Can we get to just Randy's question here real quick? Like, what do you put hot
yes,
sauce on?
everything.
Yeah, I mean, it'd probably be more specific. Like an outside of the box answer, like I don't like eggs, but like if you flavor them up, I think you flavor them up with hot sauce, they're fine. I love putting it. So we do this alumni basketball tournament every year, right around Christmas when everyone's back in town. So my high school, every grade like has their team, and you obviously play a basketball tournament. And so my team, we all get loaded the night before, and we're all playing hungover and everything. So we go out to breakfast after, which is incredible. It's like 10 guys going out to breakfast, and I usually get a triple order of hash browns with cheese, as I guess my entree, and I just dump Frank's Red Hot on that. So I guess that would be my answer.
Hash browns have to be the most underrated and underutilized food. Even if they were used for every meal, they would still be. They're the Swiss Army knife. They are
Yeah,
the Hernan Perez. They are
yeah,
whatever utility man you want to throw in there. They are. They never disappoint you.
yeah. They're Kiki Hernandez. Yeah, you're right.
So
They're Jerry Hairston Jr. How about that for as I'm wearing a Brewer hat here?
he did not do a whole lot of good things for the Brewers,
No,
but
he had a little bit of run when they in 2011.
a little bit, a little
Yeah.
bit. So Packers play Mile High Stadium. If my memory serves me correct, I think they're 1-7 or 1-8
You
there in Denver.
so I was at the game they won. That was the Brett Favre game in overtime. But as of recent, it has not been good in Denver.
And they play them in the notables for injury reports. As we know, the Packers, everybody's injured. Name a player, they have a stub toe or something. That's just the way it works. But the most notable is Josh Jacobs did not practice. Obviously, he went Sunday, so you'd think he'd be fine to go, just something to monitor. And for the Broncos, Pat Bryant did not practice. For those
That's
that don't
big.
know, he's serving as the Broncos wide receiver two, really good blocker. So to your point, that's big. Packers getting bogged down by the run against the Bears. What's the best way to beat the Packers in this game for the Broncos? Run the ball down their throat in altitude, right?
Well,
So that's a big loss.
that's always the thing, right? When you got a team with a good pass rush that's fast, you run directly at the pass rush and you just neutralize it that way.
So, I mean, obviously, Pat Bryant could still be a go. We don't know for sure. But the do not practice today is certainly something to keep an eye on. Um,
Today being
and
Wednesday for those who are
yeah,
listening.
yeah, obviously, game isn't until Sunday, so really Wednesday practice doesn't really mean anything. I'd argue now Thursday practices don't even mean anything. It's really just Friday.
It's Friday, get everyone healthy for the big games coming up. I will say,
And
right, it's really easy right now to overreact. I'll just talk about Josh Jacobs real quick. It's really easy to overreact about him, right? Of course, anytime you put your best 11 guys on offense out on the field, Josh Jacobs is a part of that. As I said before, he's probably a top three player on this team. But I mean, again, I've also said that Emmanuel Wilson is probably starting running back on 16, 17, 18 other teams in the NFL. So is this a situation where? The Packers kind of move forward as like the Los Angeles Rams have seemed to be doing with, getting Blake Corum more involved and kind of doing like a 60-40 split at this point and making sure that everybody's healthy. If that's the case, I'm all for it, right? Since we got Josh Jacobs, we've talked about it. Feels like every time we talk about Josh Jacobs on the show, is this guy's gonna get worked out of his mind. It's an inevitable injury that's gonna be costly. So I mean, having an Emmanuel Wilson as a backup is certainly not a bad thing. Again, you always want Josh Jacobs out there when you can get him out there. But I mean, Packers are. They're Packers are in the playoffs. They're not in the playoffs, but they're in the playoffs, right? They're going to be a playoff team, so I think it makes sense, right? To like, you don't want to coast and lose these games, but you also don't want to go all out against the Broncos in a game that really means nothing for playoff seeding and for playoff push here to have everybody hurt. Come the Bears, come the Minnesota. I know Minnesota's probably not going to play anything. That might be a big game for seeding for the Packers.
yeah, I mean, to your point, like it's weird to say when you're 9-3-1 playing a team 11-2, right? Week 15 of an 18-week season.
Hmm.
To your point, this game doesn't really mean anything. Like if the
Right,
Packers lose this game and they beat the Bears, okay, well then you have Baltimore at home and then the
and then
Vikings on the
yeah,
road,
right.
and I mean they take care of those or even one of the two and they're still fine. Um, so it'll be interesting. Looking at the matchup predictor, ESPN Analytics say the Packers have a 52.9% chance to win. So the Packers actually favored on the road. Spread is Packers 2.5 points, over under 43.5 points. So Vegas obviously has a low scoring, close game, probably decided by a field goal. So I guess with all that being said, what do you think about the spread? What do you think about the Packers being favored on the road against a team that The Broncos that have not been remarkable, they have looked very beatable for a lot of weeks, but they are 11-2 and they're playing in altitude.
Well, I think that I think it's a lazy take than what to say, but feels like these teams are similar in a makeup, right? Where it's kind of obviously Denver's reliant on their defense and reliant on the run game. Sounds like a lot like the Packers, and work the ball down the field and try to hit on those big plays. Um, I it, I see why the Packers would be favored in this game. It just really feels like I don't know. I think Denver's better than like what people are saying they are. Like people say that anybody in the AFC can win. I'm like I don't know. I think Denver's pretty good. Like I think New England's like better than what people think. I don't know that it's really anybody's thing to win. But anyways, like I don't know, like that the defense for Denver. Like, this is probably the best defense the Packers have played all year. I think it's gonna be tough to pass the ball in this game, as it's been tough for everyone to pass the ball against Denver. So I guess it's run game versus run game. And if you're making me say whose run game is going to succeed in this, and like it's obviously Denver's, right? I think Denver has somewhat of an underrated offensive line. Not that it should be underrated. I think it's one of the better offensive lines. And they have kind of a three-headed running back. Not that any of them are. I guess Josh Jacobs level, but three guys who are capable of moving the ball on the ground. Adding to the fact that Cortland Sutton and I'm assuming Pat Bryant's going to play are both kind of monsters on the outside. You really just need Bo Nix to not fuck up, which I guess is kind of the Packers motto too, right? Packers can run the ball. The offensive line's not as good, but really the Packers just don't need Jordan Love to fuck up. So I think Denver is to play in this, especially as a home dog, as the number one team in the NFL as a home dog. Like that just feels like something's off there. Like that has to be the pick, right?
Especially, I mean, not only are the Packers coming off an emotional win, they have an emotional week next week. And really, they're coming off of three emotional weeks. If you count all the
Mm-hmm.
divisional playoff games, it's at Denver where they have altitude, like we said. Like, I agree. I think this is Denver here, but I do see why they could say the Packers are slight favorite because if you do think it is going to be a low scoring game, first of all, I'll just say it, I think the Broncos win. But if you do think it's going to be a low scoring game, I can see why they give the edge to the team that has more of a game breaking ability. And
Yeah.
if we're judging overall offenses, I think most people are going Denver. If we're judging the ability to make a big play,
It's Green
I
Bay.
think as of recently, it's Green Bay.
Yeah. Yeah, I came into this undecided who I'm going to pick. Like I think Denver covers the spread, but I think Packers win the game. I think that's kind of the situation that we're in here. So what did you say the over under was? 41?
43 and a half.
Okay. Give me Packers 21-20.
That's a very good guess because I was just going to say Broncos 21-20. It
Yeah.
seems like it's within a field goal for sure. I think they
Yeah.
got that bet on. And I mean, to be fair, obviously ESPN analytics isn't the greatest thing to pick, but 52.9% to 46.7, like that's about as close to a toss up as you're going to get.
Correct. And I guess to your point too, right? If we're talking about, people, I love to say that like you going through football is like war, right? You're just going in and banging bodies. But I mean, Packers coming off 3-0 in the division, like this feels like it could be somewhat of a letdown game. Just again, given for all the factors, right? This game doesn't really mean anything. They won 3 games. It kind of feels like they exerted effort on, a lot of effort on these 3 games to climb back to the top of the division at the 2 seed. The Packers are favored in this. I don't know. Yeah, this does. I guess kind of feels like a letdown game. I don't know. This
Well,
is
Nick,
again. I think it's two very similar teams. So
one, it's interesting too because the Packers play to their competition and so do the Broncos.
right,
So if one of those
something's got to
teams
give.
doesn't play to the competition, I'm not saying it. I think it's very unlikely it's going to be a blowout. But if you were to tell me Denver would win 28-10, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't pick it, obviously. But again, if the Packers do the same thing, I wouldn't be shocked either. I don't think, if one of these teams gets up and puts up a lot of points, I don't know about the comeback ability of either team either
Yeah,
from a big deficit that is
yeah.
in altitude.
And I guess that's kind of the thing about both these teams. I mean, right? You're a 9-3-1 team, and you're an 11-2 team. I mean, neither team has really had that adversity where they've had to come back and play, the fourth quarter football.
Yeah. And when the Packers kind of did. They lost to Carolina and
I
lost
guess.
to the
Yeah,
Eagles, so which
I
isn't
guess.
much of adversity, right? Those big games. But the only other news before we get into, well, I guess we already did get into predictions. Packers Ravens has been slotted for Saturday at 7 o'clock. Um, I'm interested to hear your opinion. I'm in the mindset that Saturday NFL games are the best thing that has ever happened to football of all time. I'm including Thursday night, Friday night, any rule ever, because Sunday it sucks having the so-called Sunday scaries and having to go to work the next day. But man, even if your team loses, like having a day to grieve, or if they win, like being able to sleep in and have like a fun day where you can just watch other games and not be annoyed. I feel like that's the best day to play a football game.
Yeah, and Zach, I see you in the chat. You're right. They have come back. I don't. Yes, I've watched like every single Broncos comeback. I don't know why I said that. But yes, Saturday football is incredible. Especially if you're like going to the game and maybe you're going your tailgate and you're having a few at the game. You don't have to wake up in the morning and go to work. So I agree 100% with you. Like I think as soon as like this game was on the schedule for Packers Ravens, could be Saturday night, it could be Sunday night. Like this is the game that the NFL wants. They want Lamar Jackson at Lambeau Field with it snowing, where everybody in the whole world is watching. So yeah, this worked out perfect for the NFL, and it was a great schedule change. I guess not even a schedule change. I guess just a scheduling point. I don't even like this should have been a Saturday. Like they should have never even like throw in toss up. I guess it kind of if someone was out of contention, they probably throw it, tuck it in and do it on Sunday. But I guess Ravens are kind of Ravens are alive for
To
the division.
be
So yeah. I mean, it's a big game for both teams for sure.
to be fair to Zach's point, it is crazy that one of the biggest comebacks of all time was Week 7 for the Broncos. His
I forgot
comment
about that
reminded me of
game.
this, and nobody remembers it. And that was what, half a season ago, and we're
Yeah,
like some of the biggest football guys. Obviously, not saying we remember everything, but I mean that was Jackson Dart falling apart.
yeah.
I think what's his name, Dabble was still there. 8 weeks later, it's everything's completely different with those two teams.
This season has felt like it's been a lifetime.
What would you say if I
Like,
told you the Broncos started 1-2 and beat the Jets by 2 points at home?
yeah, yeah. Now that we're talking about it, I do remember this. Yeah, yeah. Like it was the first game of the season, but like Jalen Carter getting kicked out like before the game even started, that felt like it was 5 years ago.
And they almost lost that game too.
Right. And then
It,
coming out like 6 hours later that it was actually Dak was the reason. Yeah, that was
yeah.
crazy time.
And I mean, we're gonna have an NFL season probably soon that goes to 20 game season, which I think that's the cap. I think that's where it should be capped. But I mean, holy shit, like that's it's gonna be even
Right.
longer.
Yep.
So with that being said, obviously we both said 21-20. You said Packers, I said Broncos. Um, for you, what is the number one key to this game?
The number one key to this game is making your field goals. No, like to be honest, like that. I think that kind of encapsulates like what the number one thing to this game is right. You have to make sure that you're perfect on the little things because it's going to come down to the little things. You can't miss blocks when on the edge when you're hitting an off tackle play. You can't miss tackles on RJ Harvey when you have him in the backfield for a 1 yard loss. I guess so. I guess. My, I think it would be finishing the play, I guess, but you could say that for every game. But honestly, against good teams, you can't screw up. Otherwise, that team is going to take advantage of it. But I guess, if you make me pick some game specific, it's right. Probably you have to let Bo Nix, you need Bo Nix to make Bo Nix be the guy because, as last year was, he was kind of came on as a guy that everyone. Another thing that about Bo Nix is he just like unfairly everyone thought that he was just gonna be a horrible player coming out of Oregon. Nobody like even gave him 1 second of a chance. But like he showed that he can do it. Like he's been up and down this year. Like I think if you take care of that run, make Bo Nix beat you. I think I don't know. Again, these teams are, I don't know. It's here's my get some holding calls on Micah Parsons or just let him go one on one and take Bo Nix's head off.
Yeah, and I mean to your point about Knicks, like these quarterbacks, you look at the yardage. Love is 3,028, Knicks is 2,954. But Love has completed 259 passes, Bo Nix has completed 297. Bo Nix has also thrown 90 more passes, right?
Yeah.
And the touchdowns 22 to 19 and 4 to 9. So like Jordan Love has more yards on less completions, less attempts. Like Bo Nix is obviously more underneath think and dunk. To what Zach said back to our previous point, Mark Sanchez got stabbed 2 months ago, and I forgot to bring that up. That's
Hmm.
crazy
Yep.
how that happened. Zach also says 1913 Denver, so he seems to be in the same boat with us. But my key would be for sure, it would just be it's easy to say for any game, but I think for games that is close, it's just win the turnover battle. Like if you
Right.
get two interceptions from Knicks, I find it hard to believe you don't win that game.
Well, I guess
Um,
that kind of goes hand in hand with doing something after those turnovers, then, right?
yeah, yeah, and it's like the Broncos defense, right? If they turn over Jordan Love twice, or Jordan Love, like if Jordan Love tries to play hero ball and has a dirt moment, right, in his own red zone, I mean, like points are going to be a premium, right? So if you throw away good opportunities, you're screwed. Obviously, field goals is going to come in big, so it'll
Well,
be an interesting game.
I think that this is a game where both, they're both quarterbacks, both offenses in general they're probably going to be turnovers in this game. So I know when we talk about like the last team to score wins the game, like obviously that's true for a lot of games, but when we talk about that, you're thinking more of like a 35 to 42 game. Whoever scores a touchdown last really feels like to all of our score predictions. There's probably not a ton of points in this game. So really, whoever scores last, it feels like wins the game, and kind of a somewhat of a stinker of a game. But I don't know that a stinker of a game is that bad, because that's what both these teams are. They play close games, and they win close games.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, it's going to be an interesting one. We'll leave on this question for you. I think the answer is no. Is there any scenario, knowing what the Broncos are, knowing what the Packers are? You talked about the Bears game and how we didn't really learn anything. Is there any scenario where I think we're both out on the Packers being a true Super Bowl winning contender? Maybe not completely out of making that a state championship game, but we think they're probably out of a Super Bowl contender. Is there anything that you think they could do in this game that would prove to you they are, or not with
Well,
how Denver plays sometimes?
Well, I think we know what the defense is, right? I think the defense is good enough to carry Green Bay as far as the offense goes with them. So I guess, right, if we really believe that Jordan Love is a top 10 guy, is a top 7 guy, whatever you want us to say. If we really do believe that these receivers, these 5 wide receiver 3s on our team is one of the best receiving cores in the NFL. If we really want to believe that this run game is one of the better in the NFL, it's like go out and beat the best defense. Like if you go out and put points on this Denver's defense, then that's when the Packers become a little bit scarier than they have been the last couple weeks.
Just to have to play the Bears the next week.
Right. Right. And so I guess, you always hate to look forward to games, right? But I mean, this is a game where, again, we mentioned doesn't it does mean something at this point, this late in the season. Like you want to get wins more than you want to get losses. But in terms of like really when it breaks down to it, doesn't mean much. You don't really want guys to go out and you have a season-ending injury in this game or something that's going to screw you up for the playoffs. So especially with that Bears game coming up, that's probably going to be the last real like huge game for Green Bay. So I guess the key is, now that I'm breaking this all down, is like get out of the game healthy. Hopefully get a win, get out a bit healthy. But I do have a story before we get off here.
Real
Um,
quick before that
yeah,
story, to your point about like what this game means, I'm looking at playoffstatus.com for playoff odds. If they win, their chances to miss the playoffs are 1%. If they lose, 8%.
yeah,
Not a huge difference. The only really big difference is in the 1 and the 2 seeds, which with so much in the air doesn't really mean anything. So
correct. My story is Wisconsin. I don't know if you got it too bad, but a lot of Wisconsin got blasted by snow last night. I think we ended up with like 5 inches around Green Bay. And the idiot that I am, the rookie that I am, that I've never done this in my life. I don't know why I did it today. Usually I get up in the morning and shovel snow, so I don't, just get it done with. I didn't do that this morning. I just tried to plow right through it to get my car out. I got stuck. Um, so the ass end of my car is out in the road, and my front is in the driveway. So yeah, it was so luckily we had a 2 hour delay at school this morning, so I had some time to kind of work around it. but I'm trying to dig myself out and hammering the gas forward, reverse, just trying to get something. Nothing was going. The neighbor across the street had to come over and help me, and that's like one of the most embarrassing. I'm not a guy who gets embarrassed a lot, and that was one of the most embarrassing things. So finally dug myself out and I was able to get to work. But I think I gotta get him like a $100 gift card to Target as a Christmas gift.
Maybe not that much. Maybe not that much crazy, but I
But
mean, at least a 12 pack of beer or something. But to your point about it being
yeah,
embarrassing, here's I have a little bucket in my garage full of my dad gave to me when I moved into my house of kitty litter, which helps if you get stuck.
yeah,
My thing is it more
yep.
embarrassing to get stuck like you, or is it more embarrassing to go out to your own car, pour down kitty litter you have for this exact situation, and get out?
I know, I know. It was I was there, and the guy came over, and goes, "We have kitty litter, we have cardboard. So we're throwing all this crap under the tires." I'm like, I gotta try to get out here as fast as possible. And finally we were able to work it out, and it wasn't fun.
The best thing about Wisconsin, though, that no other state can touch, except for maybe Minnesota, Wisconsin and maybe Minnesota are the only states where like you can help somebody out of it, and somebody would be like, "Man, can I get you anything?" You're like, "Nah, you're good."
Right,
Like that. That's
right.
just what we do here. We all know. We've all been there. It sucks. Like just go ahead
Yeah, yeah. I gotta get him a Chris. I gotta get him like a Target or Quick Trip gift card or something.
for sure. And the good thing is you have options because nobody hates Quick Trip,
Right.
right? So
Also,
you can opt
there's a Quick Trip 500 feet from my house. So
easy, and you don't even have to take the car to get there if you don't need to.
correct.
Well, with that being said, anything else? Send us out on something, Luke. A
I guess
statement, a quote, an
it's
inspiring message.
it's kind of fun to, I guess, if to for anyone who and I hate thinking that I'm old, because I'm not really old in the grand scheme of the world history. Not really, in the overall average of an American white male. I'm really not that old. At 27, be 28 in April. But sometimes, like, you feel old. You wake up, your knees crack, they hurt, your back hurts in the morning. You can't do things as well as you could when you were 21. Anyone really is really thinks they're old. You're not old. Philip Rivers is 44 years old and coming back to play football. So shout out to Philip Rivers, man. I would have loved. I wonder if they made a call to Andrew Luck, but there's got to be a lot of 27-year-old free agent quarterbacks who are pissed off. But whatever. Philip Rivers back in the NFL is a good thing.
And with that, we will leave you. Philip Rivers is back, and the Packers are in Denver. Maybe
Pack
they
is
pulled
back.
their own throwback. We will see you on the other side. Have a good week, everybody.